That's good. That means, of course, either I have confused the people.
That's a very interesting paper and very interesting method that you reported. It's a well-known technique of the Buddhists, and people who criticize Buddhism, they say this is just to obfuscate the matter and trying to confuse things, etc., etc. And this method is used very popularly by the politicians today. When you go to television, you want to be politically correct and use this method, to be on the safe side. Thank you so much once again. Now, time for the other speaker that we have. Processing, yeah. Is there a question?
But when first be a part of this thing, I had my reservation. I told him, sir, I don't know whether I shall be able to. I shall be. No, he should be there. No, then, of course, because of his compulsion, I became a part of it. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Shall we go to the next speaker now, or there is any other question? Comment?
Yes, so, let's go to the next speaker.
Okay. So the next speaker, we have Rajashri Roy, and she's going to speak on the role of dharma in yoga and exploration. So Rajashri Roy ji, kindly make your presentation.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this 25th International Congress of Vedanta for giving me this opportunity to present to share my ideas on the paper, The Role of Dharma in Yoga and Exploration. And also, I would like to extend my gratitude to my supervisor, my mentor, Professor RPC, for encouraging me to write this paper. So, is it possible for humans to live without religion in their lives? It was discovered that more than 80% of the world's population had a belief system that guides their lives. As a result, religion is still very much alive today. There are various viewpoints on the origins of religions. When confronted with wired, overwhelming, and completely unknown and uncontrollable realities and forces of nature, such as massive flood, major earthquake, or is there any problem regarding my video? Am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly audible.
Okay, thank you, sir. So basically, the primitive humans, they felt terrified and powerless when they are unable to cope up with this belief of the religion. They perform numerous rites, rituals, and invocation to this greater force, a being they believed that dwell far away in the heavens, in the quest of an explanation and ways to find solace and safety. Though fear was a powerful force in religion, so they also looked for ways to pacify these ostensibly enraged gods. From the beginning, this typically took the shape of various types of sacrifices, such as first fruits, animals, and even persons. The people were willing to get go of even the things that were closest to him in the face of a major problem. So, also another characteristics of religion was that the relationship with the greater power was frequently motivated by self-interest, such as the desire to be protected from danger or to get advantages from these self-powerful sources. So at times, this meant enlisting help to destroy one's enemies whom they felt were also God's enemies. And therefore, their devastation was carried out in the name of God. Even the priest innovations or the urgency of the situations contributed to the multiplicity of ceremonies and rituals. Ceremonies and recitations, many of which were performed compulsively and with enormous repetitions to guarantee that the deity was satisfied. As a result, the expansion of religious ritualization is easy to see, often to the point of masking the actual face of God, whom people were seeking. So in the name of religions, there was a true belief, and these beliefs are still existing today also. Humans, on the other hand, as intelligent beings, investigated the nature of this ultimate reality. It was a case of the faith in search of reason. We are wired to seek purpose in our lives. So, in addition to rites and ceremonies, God's philosophy and theology develop. In the early stages of religious formation, a near enticed focus on the outward world gives way to a growing attention on the inner dimensions, spiritual aspects, or what we can call the yogic component of religion. So, this deep logical inquiry, in combination with personal religious experience, identified and attributed to God a totally different set of attributes and identity. Even the Bhagavad Gita places a high value on intelligence, understanding, and soul. In this perspective, Arjuna is told to seek salvation. The Bhagavad Gita is primarily a book about light and love, but it is also a book about life. Karma Marga, in addition to Jnana and Bhakti Marga, is a creative response to life's challenges and conditions. We then discovered the dharma of our lives, which was beyond obligations and prescriptions. Dharma can be defined as the truth within us. Beyond philosophy and reflection, some religious traditions believe that there is an element of inspirations, a heavenly revelation, and as a result, an inspired sacred text that incorporates both humans and divine wisdom. So the sacred scriptures are there because they were inspired by God. This gives religion a transcendental dimensions. We all create these inner dimensions. This inner dimension is known as the yogic dimensions, which refers to religion's deeper spiritual or mystical dimensions. The profound insights that arise from this mystical vision are the result of this belief in the yogic insightful. At this deeper level, what humans would not dare to do on a purely human level becomes feasible. Like Tattvamasi, which says that the profound understanding is that thou art. So religions are known for their cosmic and all-encompassing visions and consciousness. Yoga is a tool for discovering and experiencing this reality. Yoga is a discipline of movement, a search for and discovery of the transcendent, a sadhana that seeks and discovers God. The natural tendency is to gravitate toward the exterior, to the Prakriti features which are visible and sensible, and thus offer an appealing domain right away. The inner reality was uncovered through yoga, and the rest is Maya. Liberation or moksha can be attained through breaking free from the shackles of Prakriti through various types of exercises and the rejection of whatever that obstructs one's path to God. So, these features of liberations can be found in numerous religious thought, not in the same way. However, Lord Krishna graphically articulates the dialectic and resulting conflict between the inner and the exterior, between what Patanjali has characterized as Purusha and Prakriti. In the Gita and living setting, when faced with the horrible decisions of sharing his life with the blood of his own kinsmen, and most revered teachers, Arjuna then listened to Lord Krishna's insightful discourse and obtain insight into the deepest elements of reality. The visible, transient Visheshya elements are placed in perspective and made submissive to the unseen, everlasting heavenly spirit. Lord Krishna guides Arjuna to see the entirety of reality through an inner yogic lens. So, religion and yoga then are linguistic and cultural responsibilities that are insufficient to define the Indian psychic and the ancient history of our tradition. Religion has a distinct connotation, and that comes from a contextual fabric of life and thought that is difficult to compare. In the pursuit of yoga, which, like the pollster, is a form of medium and attract the Indian spirits gaze in our northern skies, because it is irresistibly pulled to this activity, whether as a wholehearted goal or as a way of life in a variety of circumstances and stages. The sensation of infinite is the foundation of this attraction and has deep roots in the psyche of the person, family, or social group. So it entices him to investigate the numerous ways in which the finite can seek the infinite and the rasa of its many splendors. He can't stop looking for the one who carved the image out of his own essence in every image of bird and beast, man and woman, and the folds of matter. For him, the patent is limitless. It does not have a beginning or an end. The practice of yoga has a solid and obvious foundations. So, on a foundation of truths and insights gleaned from years of experiences through this yoga. The intricate and complicated interaction of the levels with one another, as well as the dynamics at work in overall functioning, have been studied in great detail, and their secret mechanisms have been fully grasped. This hierarchy of levels has a double structure that interacts with each other. One is horizontal in the shape of concentric rings ranging from the inmost to the outmost, and the other is the vertical in the form of a graduated scale ranging from a base in matter to the heights of the spirit. So the rich complexity of the human person is created by the inner penetration at specific moment, such as a structure of level of consciousness and their reciprocal actions and responses. Because it is the totality of the real in its the transcendent and universal aspects that is present in a latent form in the individual. The psychological content of the human personality is rich beyond measure in its potentiality of growth, and the finite being is imbued with a sense of the infinite, which it cannot see from seeking in every form and manner because it resides in him and can become the drive to grow and become one in identity with that which surpasses it. The infinite exists in all areas of the human personality. The infinite manifests itself in an unlimited variety of forms and levels of manifestations, providing the finite with an infinite variety of possible experiences. As a result, the pursuit of yoga has taken many paths of development and has locked in countless possibilities of experiences in this immense expanse of the entire field of infinite investigations. These routes of exploration have discovered, grown, experimented with, and identified psychological processes that lead to such experiences with precision and the subtlest of the subtleties, allowing the human person to grow in unimagined potentialities as a reality of evolution possible for him. This was in addition to the many yogic practices that have been developed and practiced over the millennia and are still in use today. The paths have been well worn for years, and generations have worked with confidence on the familiar and difficult traits. The real life experiences acquired along the route and at the summits, as well as the procedure that led to them, and have been presented and shared. This is a body of amazing diversity with a sense of continuity. The entirety of these experiences has not been codified, formalized into a system of beliefs and observances, and bound in one single shaft to which one conforms as a matter of conventions or even historical inheritance, as is usually the case in the religion. In India, the path of each single line of exploration has been presented without a doubt as an experience that can be had by an individual with the discipline and processes laid out to allow them to do so. Individual attraction is to this possibility, not to making a collective attempt to codify the result and well people into an organized form of acceptance of it. So the real and the accepted form are vastly distinct orders of things. The tract that commands itself as the most worthy of pursuit is the one that is persuaded and arrives at. When other forms generated from religious impulses crystallized and took hold of people, they were like encrustations that settled at a period when people's yearning for life experiences was at a low ebb and the easy weight of habit and routine was prevalent. The religious molds hold and sway over the human soul in general is under doing a two-way swing of the time's pendulum in our time. On the other side, the desire to have experiences beyond and beyond religion and tradition with a prescribed pattern that has grown in popularity. And these encounters comes in a variety of forms and go many different courses. The situation is intriguing, and despite its seeming paradoxes, it makes perfect sense. The loss of its area is met with opposition, and it expresses itself in the only way it knows how. The ensuing violence is a sign of the rigorous restrictions that must have been enforced by the power of religion in order to restrain man's spirit of adventure. His freedom to seek the truth of himself and the cosmos in the most natural and innate way possible, the flow of the energies that turn back on him since he is being held back from this attempt. The enduring fascinations to the yogic pursuit of life has been given a fresh creative turn in our life. So yoga's various disciplines have served as many paths to study the eternal in India. All of life's frameworks, both individual and societal, patterns of culture and educations, and organizational systems have been built on the solid foundation of principles discovered through yoga practices. The structure of life's processes shows a progression that indicates a path of man's evolution. That means internal yoga discovered a consciously sought process in man's psychological being and was co-terminus with the process of growth that occurs in life as part of nature's own evolutionary progressions. A process that gathered in a concentrated and appropriate form the forces that were at work in nature's own working as well as the manner in which they acted. Only in this way would a human effort to consciously accelerate nature's evolutionary process in terms of attaining higher levels of consciousness and their efficacy in actions on matter. And these be considered part of the universal movement that nature represents and which scientific research seeks to unravel and utilize in its own unique way. All of the yoga disciplines that are practiced came to two essential truths in the discovery of this integral root. One, each major discipline, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Hasta Yoga, they all stood on one of the primary motivational powers of the human personality and tried to elevate it to the pinnacle of its development in an ultimate union of oneness with the universal and transcendental reality. If the level of these transmutations in each field could be located, then man's complete personality could grasp hold of it and use it to effect an integral shift in all aspects of his being. So the psychological movement of surrender, of self-giving, of the finite to the infinite, of the ego to the beyond ego, lies at the heart of this process. These works proceed by evoking the infinite power of that which transcends the finite with its many-sidedness of activity to take up the task of transmuting the habitual nature of the staff, body, heart, and mind, and these are transformed into qualitative states and dynamics of being. In reality, it denotes an upward transference of all powers of man's being to that which is greater, deeper, and vaster than it. As a result, totality as a state of being and eventually life and its structures can become a truth of experience and appear in our material world. On this very planet, which has always been lush and green, but is now brilliant in gold, totality or wholeness is within our grasp. This realization is made possible by a conscious action that transports us into the greater dimensions of depth, immensity, and height. And there is a comparable curve of the evolutionary spiral at the frontiers of this scientific study. The presence of whole dynamic in their actions, rhythmic with the movement of totality in the deep intricacy of structuring, is discovered by scientists in the very core of matter and in the functioning of the physical cosmos. So the minuscule is transformed into the portal to the infinite. They are engrossed, whether it is in the center of matter or not, but as the scientists observe, so alternatively, it is in the spirit that the yogi is mindful of, without the other matter and spirit are discovered to be incomplete. Matter reveals the effulgence by opening its brilliant doors of the infinitesimal hours of pleasing senses with the spirit and the spirit as a material. The new millennium has provided us with a clear picture of what has to be done to awaken man's buried potential for greater consciousness, so that they may develop commensurate in their being with the life system they have created. The wholeness discovered in matter must be manifested in men's beings, lives, and actions in the world. So the ages ahead demanded an examination of man's awareness to see what he could become. So this is the age-old human desire for the Indian soul, which holds a unique allure. And in this quest, India has developed and practiced various yoga disciplines in order to explore all possible domains of consciousness through all possible methods, leading to the internal yoga of our current times in the contemporary setting of the world, where we hold the experience of millennia in our beings. So it is our obligations to give it a tangible, living form and to shape the world of the future. What role does yoga play in the Semitic and more specifically Christian religions? This is a revelation, and that is found in the very first book of the Bible, where it is mentioned that God created man in his image and he created him in the image of God, male and female. That means God, the creator of the universe, and he is everything that is existing, is figuratively depicted as toiling to mold and shape Adam and Eve. So we can say that God is said to be the working with them, participating in a divine discussion. And it is not common to believe that humans can have intimate relationship with God. However, there are at the heart of religion's yoga, it is said that God is an indwelling God with us. He is an antaryami, thereby combining God's transcendence and immanence. So the Christian faith, like the Indian tradition, also regards God as a person who lives among us. So this is a mystery that adds to the wonder of a God who is close by, who lives within us. There is a perception and experience of cosmic unity and oneness of all reality in the mystical component of religions. So by this, we can end this presentation by saying that God can become an indwelling God by being at ease with the work of his hands. And there are many areas of connections and considerable common ground at the spiritual and mystical level. And we can only perceive God's love through the inner eye of the yogic lens, or through faith or mystical perspectives. Thank you.
Hello, Rajshri. You're muted, Rajshri. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
She finished, Girishji, she finished.
Okay. Rajshri Roy for a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Rajshri. And there are two very important terms that you're using, yoga and dharma. And if you go etymologically, user yoga and dri, to hold. If you take that meaning of dharma, then that should be the basis of everything, right? Yoga included. I think you are taking religion as the meaning of the word dharma here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess that. So, is there any question from anybody? There's nothing in chat. Okay. Religion as the meaning of dharma has been debated, right? Very controversial. People say there is no word for religion in Sanskrit. So why did you take that meaning of dharma here? You could have used religion as the basis of yoga instead of saying dharma as the basis of yoga.
Because dharma is the duty, and I have related yoga with dharma because this sitting in the pandemic situations, I thought that this yoga is the most basic help to face this pandemic situation. So just keeping in this view, I have just wrote the paper. I'm not very much specialized in Indian philosophy, but I just tried my level best to write this.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question, comment on either of the papers? We have 5 minutes. Okay. If not, then I'll conclude. Both these papers were very interesting, especially the.
Professor, yeah, if you permit me.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what is dharma in fact? I mean, there is I mean, this is the wonderful notion in Indian philosophy, I believe. I mean, dharma is the term which has been used in a very different style. Okay. So I think, to my understanding, dharma has been used in a very, unauthorized way by many people. Okay. So dharma, there are two terms, I believe. I mean, there are two ways of understanding dharma. One is to say, I mean, what is dharma, if you ask me? And of course, you see, every human being has a dharma. Every jiva has a dharma. Okay. At the same time, there are people who made dharma as actually a practice. What I wanted to say is that there's a difference between what is dharma and what ought to be dharma. The ought to be is actually, dharma means, of course, it was a concept, wonderful concept. But what has been practiced as dharma, has become the dharma. So now, I don't think that, of course, you see, dharma can be composed to this level. I mean, this is a very, because see, I'm a student of Indian philosophy for a long time, So, I say it's very difficult. I mean, I do not know. But at the same time, I believe that, let us not, contextualize dharma in terms of our religion, our practices, our morality, our understanding, our weltanschauung. But that's it. It's what I wanted to say. That's.
If I could ask a question to
please.
Rajashree.
I don't know whether I mean, this is what my feedback is. I have,
and I'll see to it. Thank you for your.
I belong to a tradition, or I'm a Christian, basically. Okay. I'm a Syrian Roman Catholic from Kerala, basically. Okay. But I know all the Upanishads. Okay. I have all the Vedas with me. My point is that this is my reading for the last maybe 37 years now. I found that this is the concept of dharma is actually something which is so unique in the world. And let us not make use of that word, not like that, simply pass. This is my, please forgive me for saying that. This is my contention, pass.
Well, I think that my question is kind of related to that. I know Dr. Sebastian and have interacted several times in different meetings. So, and then Rajashree was also mentioning about this kingdom of God, and God created man in his own image. And I, as a scientist, I have read a paper in Proceedings National Academy of Science where the individuals in America, they were asked this question on morality, and their view and the view of God in their view, in their words, are the same. So I agree with you. Actually, I was going to ask this question to Rajashree, but I agree with you that the practice of religion or dharma that has been now brought in many iterations sounds very different than what it ought to be. And if that really were a good understanding, then dharma and religion might not be actually very different. But since they have been practiced so differently, it looks like very different. So I was going to ask Rajasri this question. What does he think of when Professor Jha asked this question, religion and dharma? When according to dharma, you have to take maybe you take one example, let's say Brahma, or the man, I mean here men and women both. How are they related to God? So in case of Vedic and Vedantic philosophy, Aham Brahmasmi. In case of church and Christianity, it says God, this is kingdom of God. Now, obviously, God does not live somewhere other than his kingdom, if that is the case. So in that case, in both cases, it's the same thing. You know, somebody else is trying to play around some tricks with the words and practices that make look like these are the different things, but actually they may not be that different as it might be appearing. So, Rajasri, your response.
Can you just specify the questions? I'm not getting it properly.
Okay, what I was saying is that if you are saying that in Christianity, it says God made man his own image. And then there also in the Bible is written that God, this is kingdom of God. So then God obviously lives in his own kingdom. I mean, anybody who has a kingdom will live in his kingdom. So that is the same thing as it is saying Aham Brahmasmi. So in that sense, even if the other one is called religion and this is called dharma, originally they mean the same thing. Actually, you talked about yoga. One of my way of explaining the religion is re means again, legion means associate. Reassociate, which also means yoga in a way of doing that. So we could look into that. I mean, the Vedanta is a place where we can discuss all this. I'm so glad that Dr. Sebastian was also here to talk about, something.
Actually, Madam Rajashree, I would like to ask you one thing. What is yoga in fact? Yoga is actually a union between the full soul of Sebastian, which is the plane to the being. That's all. This is yoga. Am I correct?
Yes.
If that is the case, why do you want to drag religion over here?
Because religion, I feel that in earlier time, the people used to practice religion because of the power of failure. They feel powerless. But at times when the logical understandings, that means when we put the logical understanding to
No, my only point is that religion divides you and me, but dharma doesn't divide you and me. That's all. Bas. Are you hearing my point? I'm a Christian. I'm a Syrian Roman Catholic from Kerala, basically. Okay. A practicing Christian. But at the same time, I tell you one thing, more than many other people, I must have read the Upanishads. Bas. I mean, Brahadaranika to all Upanishads, 13 principles of Upanishads I have read it very seriously for the last 34 years. Sorry, for almost 40 years. Okay. So I know about the content of the Upanishads. So therefore, and the Vedas, in my library book, I have all Vedas. My point is that dharma doesn't divide people. Religion divides people.
Sir, I didn't say that dharma divide people. Dharma is a duty that I am not relating dharma.
Dharma can be duty. Dharma can be justice. Dharma can be what to say. I mean, everything. I mean, you damn thing to these things. Dharma. Dharma is something, it is so unique.
Unique in
itself. Dharma is dharyati dharma, which holds you, which defines you.
There are three. I would say, with the permission, I would say, there are two, three concepts in India, discovery of India. One is dharma. Another one is yajna. Okay. Another one is riddha. These three concepts, the greatest Indian discoveries. Never it can be commented by any word, I should say. What is yajna in fact? Oni yajna, for information. No. I mean, if you go to Vedas, Vedas, in fact, I should say, Rigveda, chapter 2, you go. Sacrifice, sacrifice. See, this is the, yajna. It's so wonderful, I should say. When I read it now, it's so exhilarating, so beautiful, I should say. People should read things. Not that, of course, this is not a rubbish now we are talking about now. India has a wonderful culture, a civilization. We have a tradition. Of course, Professor Govi and myself, I have been doing something about the so-called Guru tradition. So my point is that, So I think, Madam, with all apologies, I think, let us not concretize the so-called this.
Thank you, both of you. We are getting late for the next session. We're supposed to start at 9:05.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, both of you. It was a wonderful session and two lovely papers. First one was on the apophatic method. And I would love to see the text of principal Upanishads marked for apophasis, and also the finer hierarchies in the apophatic method used in the Indian tradition. Not only that this is apophasis, but if there are some subcategorizations, different kinds of apophasis used in Indian tradition. And also the paper by Rajeshri was very, very interesting. And I think we'll have to certainly debate more the use of the word dharma, which is very broad. And in the sense of basic essence, something which holds you, dharyati dharma. If there is a doubt in knowing some Indian term, go to etymology. Etymologies are the best way to solve problems. Like yoga is a yusera, which actually helps you connect, and dharma is what holds you. So thank you so much, both of you, and I will then thank the organizers again for letting me do this honor, and I'll hand it over to Balramji for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Girish Jha, and it's my honor and privilege to just move on to the next session, which is the shortest one for the day because it has one speaker, but he will make up for the larger sessions because he's such a big personality that I know is a good friend also of Dr. Suhas Shirsagar of the Ayurvedic Healing and Integrative Wellness Clinic. He runs in Northern California. He is a Ayurvedic doctor who has a BA in Ayurvedic medicine and an MD, which is doctorate in Ayurvedic internal medicine with a gold medal from prestigious Pune University. Interesting thing is that he has written, some very textual books for people to understand, and he's a faculty on several institutions in the United States. He has written some books that people use in classes, but he has written some popular books. And one of them is the Hot Belly Diet, a 30-day Ayurvedic plan to reset your metabolism, lose weight, and restore your body's natural balance. I'm assuming that some people might need to gain weight also. That will work. And change your schedule, change your life, how to harness the power of clock genes. Dr. Deepak Chopra was talking of these things because he has written forward on these books. And then what I really am looking forward to is a presentation on Vedantic wisdom and Vedic counseling. I'm assuming that he has published a book. Maybe some of the items will come from there. The Art and Science of Vedic Counseling. He published in 2016. Really, counseling is something that's very popular in the United States. People need that help, and I think the more we can bring Vedic and Ayurvedic ideas to United States, so much better for the humanity. So, Dr. Suhas Shirsagar, please go ahead with your presentations.
Thank you, Balramji. And once again, it's my great joy and honor to be with all of you, this wonderful Congress that we are talking about. So I'm going to share my screen and open my presentation to get started for this evening. I know that is evening for you up there, and it's early in the morning for me here. So I would like to start with a short Vedic invocation, if you allow me, so that
Please.
we can set the tone from all the discussion that we have been having so far. Namaste. Once again, my sincere thanks to Sukalyanji, to Girishji and Balramji to put this all together and invite me for this wonderful Congress. Pratas Smarami, Rudisansfuradatma Tattvam, Satchit Sukham, Paramahansa Gatim Turiyam, Yatsvapna Jagar Sushupti Mavaiti Nityam, Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nachabhuta Sangha. Hari Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I've been listening very patiently to all the discussion that we have been having about yoga, about dharma, about religion, and Vedanta in general. A lot of information that is percolated down from the Vedas, from the Upanishad, trying to understand the nature of the reality itself. What I'm going to share with all of you is how do we really distill all of this information and make it practical, so that as a clinician, as an Ayurvedic doctor, as a practicing physician, when I talk to patients, my clients, when they're sitting in front of me, how can I apply the body of wisdom that all the Vedas and the Vedanta brings in a clinical setting? And I think that's exactly the topic that I'm going to share with all of you today. Because at the end of the day, you can discuss all day about dharma, but manavta paramo dharma is right. Whenever I'm helping someone who is in front of me, I'm serving God to a certain extent. Jana seva, Janardhan seva. And healing as a profession. Healing as a profession is so important. And when we use this term Vedic counseling in the context of helping people during their difficult times, during their suffering, and help them understand the futility of these situations, the illusion, the chaos that surrounds them, which intensifies the pain and the suffering a lot. And I consider Bhagavad Gita as a true template for this, because when you look closely, Lord Krishna was the first counselor, and Arjuna was the first patient who was totally clinically depressed. And Counselor Krishna educating Arjuna, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita itself is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada is another term that we use for depression. And in Ayurveda, it says Vishado Rog Vivardhana Sreshtaha. Means any type of depression or Vishada will make any disease worst. So if the first chapter was Arjuna Vishad Yoga and the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita was Moksha Sannyas Yoga, it means within those 18 chapters, Counselor Krishna has led Arjuna to this whole journey of enlightenment. And for him to realize Nashto Moha Smrutirlabdva, that what I was seeing was not real, what I am doing is my own dharma right now, and having that realization from a pathological state of imbalance, and that pathological state of imbalance, Sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishishyati, vepathu cha sharire me rom harsha jayate, gandivam sramsate hasta. This is all a state of anxiety, depression, dullness, where he doesn't want the kingdom of heavens do anything with this, but simply wants to run away. And I see numerous patients in my clinical practice who face this challenge. And especially during the pandemic that what we had, it was almost a realization that no country, however powerful it might be, is able to take care of all of its people at once. So it boils down to individual health and individual responsibility. The very premise of Ayurveda is understanding that we are an inseparable part of Mother Nature and universe. Purushoyam Loka Samhita, the miniature universe that we have, the global warming responding or creating internal inflammation in people's bodies. And this interconnected model between the Pinda and the Brahmanda, sending ripples everywhere. And these cascading effect that we have seen during the pandemic has gone down to the subcellular molecular events, rippling across entire planet, social, economic, political, even spiritual upheaval. And this fear is like a contagion, evenly spreading much more than the virus. And this is felt down deep at an individual cellular level. Why am I discussing this? Because it's time to create a global immunity. It's trying to go back and bridge people, place, purpose, and planet all together. And the very reason from an Ayurvedic perspective that why some of these things happen in such a mass scale is about Janapado Dhvansa Vyadhis. And one of the main reasons Ayurveda talks about is the rasa of dharma, dharma rasa. And that dharma rasa at an individual level leading to depletions of the qualities within udakam, which is water, vayu, air, desham, which is land, and kalam, which is time. So we are at a stage where we are trying to understand that this is very much interconnected with the collective dharma and the collective consciousness of the individual. And going back to counseling, going back to understanding that how do we actually integrate this thing? Because the more and more you learn, the more and more it becomes simple and uniform. And I think this is all the scholars here would agree that what Vivekananda said, that each soul is a potential divine. The goal is to manifest divinity within by controlling your nature, external and internal. And you can do this with any kind of worship, any kind of religious practice, or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more, and all of this one can be free. And this is the whole essence of every religion, doctrines or dogmas or rituals, or books or temples or forms. They're all secondary details. And I think at this stage, when we're talking about applying or the application of Vedanta in a clinical setting, the world itself is realizing this, and everybody is looking towards India and the wisdom that the Vedas or the Vedic wisdom brings. Because what I've seen, what has changed in medicine is nowadays, we used to, about a decade ago, we used to talk about stress, that how stress is the root cause of many chronic diseases. Then we realized that the root cause of depression and anxiety can spread to many diseases. Then we started talking about anxiety, stress, and the coping mechanism by biofeedback or stress management or stress relaxation, that how you can regulate your blood pressure or vasovagal responses. Then we suddenly moved away from psychology, which used to be that who did what to you. Someone did bad to you, that's the trauma that you're facing, your parents didn't raise you properly, or some terrible thing happened to you, or you're worried about money. Now suddenly the whole thing in psychology, at least the modern day psychology, is about positive psychology. It's about forget about what happened in the past. What can you do for yourself right now? And that's where we are heading in terms of positive psychology. And the first time we are hearing the word spirituality in clinical medicine. And there are journals of the study of spirituality from a clinical setting. We're talking about psychology of well-being. And we are talking about spirituality in clinical practice. So the world has come full circle, starting where medical licenses were given in churches at one time. In 1700s, the medical licenses were issued by church. And now with an evidence-based science, we try to creep the church, science, spirituality out of medicine. And suddenly we are realizing, oops, we made a mistake. And we have to bring this spiritual connotation so that we can motivate more and more people to really understand the Vedanta. And no matter which religion you use, the essence of each religion is the very seed of Vedanta itself. Because the eternal quest is, why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? How do I order my priorities? And where can I find guidance about a good life or the life that is well lived? And these questions and meanings of purpose are often described as spiritual issues. And Doctors in white coats have no idea. And when I teach this to physicians around the country, around the globe, they ask me, Dr. Suhas, should I take my white coat and put on a saffron robe? And I said, why not? Because these questions are the part of being human. They transcend every culture, religion, ethnicity, and they are universal in itself. And when I wrote this book, The Art and Science of Vedic Counseling with Pandit Vamdev Shastri, David Frawley, the purpose was how can we integrate Vedanta in a clinical setting? Because we are trying to understand, or every clinician is trying to understand the whole human being who is there. And as someone trying to be healthy, health is the very basis of everything that you want to attract in life. Dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. Because in a setting where people want to improve their health, this is the first time they have your attention, and you can easily guide them towards however you want to steer this discussion. Their challenges, their strengths, their weaknesses, understanding the spiritual inclination and practice and the overall outlook towards life is what creates diseases and imbalances. Understanding the dharma in a greater context, their passion, their purpose, what their aspirations are, their emotional health and awareness, journey of life so far, how far they have come, what have they learned. Even on a daily setting, do you like your job? Do you like your relationship? Do you earn enough money? Are you healthy and happy? Because when you are pressed with many of these problems or challenges, no matter how I would like to lead them towards an inner journey of evolution, they're not ready to have that conversation. And in a clinical setting, when we talk to people, we try to help you understand the blessings of being human, helping you to see your life on a spectrum scale from 0 to maybe 40 years of age. Look at it closely, witness it, watch it from a distance, reminding yourself of your own achievements, empowering yourself to learn from the disappointments that one is having, helping you to heal from your own mistakes. And trust me, I see so many patients on a daily basis who are actually riddled with their day-to-day challenge. And they want to meditate. They want to read scriptures or spiritual books or listen to some things and try to transcend what is bugging them or bothering them. They're not able to because they're so close to the impact of the Maya or the illusion or why they are having pain and suffering. They're unable to do that. So when we are helping them with diet, lifestyle changes, herbs, supplements, some treatments, slowly they are able to release the bondages or the limitations. And you slowly start participating in your own health and well-being. You start seeing notice the areas of improvement. And you encourage yourself to develop a little bit more invaluable qualities within yourself. It could be joy, it could be equanimity, it could be compassion. It could be little dispassion to a certain extent. Slowly you help the client to take your life to the next level. You meet them where they are and slowly lead them where they need to be. And if you see the transition or the transformation with every client that you see and talk, and you feel that they're able to balance their life between work, rest, and play, you are able to allow equal time and manage your time wisely in different areas of life. You try to learn something new every day. You try to understand your potential is unlimited, and you are making yourself more and more miserable by narrowing it down, by having more of a contracted state of awareness. And what is important is that the circle of life, we always talk about in Vedanta about fullness, is that right? Purnam. And that Purnam is not only about this is full and that is full and whatever you're talking about in terms of the consciousness, is about a circle of fullness in how effectively you can go through different challenges in life and still maintain an inner state of stability and equanimity. whether it's on the home front, you're taking care of your health and well-being, your relationship with money and finances, your personal growth, trying to improve your physical, mental, emotional health, and the spiritual quest, without forgetting about fun and activity to enjoy and to be easygoing, not to be too serious about everything. Your partnership, your relationship, not only marriage or romantic relationship, but every kind of relationship. Maybe as a brother, maybe as a father, maybe as a grandfather, all different roles that you play, your career, your friends, family, social responsibility. If you are able to integrate all of these things together, slowly you are helping a person or a client or a patient to start realizing that there's much more to life. Because when someone is in distress, you can't read and chant Gita for them. What you need to do is try to help their distressed mind first and slowly empower them with the tools where they can move away from that contracted awareness. When everything is shrunk, when they are into an egocentric mentality where their fear of losing everything, the fear, the duality, the anger, the isolation, sorrow, narrow mind. And I know so many scholars. I know so many scholars who are wonderful. They have written books, they have done their PhD on various topics, but when it comes to living, they're not able to reflect what they have learned into how they should be thinking and living. They're riddled with a lot of chaos, confusion, duality, anger, ego within themselves. And we are to take these people, and we are all messed up in our own way, because it doesn't mean that in order to do a psychotherapy or a counseling session that you have to be really sick enough. We all need some counseling within ourselves, slowly to transcend something that is limiting us, to move towards expanded awareness, towards at least experiencing some qualities of love, unconditional happiness, happy for no good reason, flexible, having an open mind, and having a state of pure awareness, slowly moving towards that. From that open mind, from that unconditional happiness, non-sensorial happiness, you are moving towards a state of pure awareness. When you are into a state of contracted awareness, and if I tell you to go to pure awareness and experience Brahman, you don't understand what you're talking about or what that experience is all about. You don't have the sensory tool or the bandwidth to even experience that. And as you transcend in a step-by-step manner, from an Ayurvedic perspective, we make them move away from tamas to rajas to sattva, and then transcend the sattva. If at all someone who is full of tamas, feeling dull, heavy, stagnant, you tell them to meditate, they are happily sitting, closing their eyes and snoring the next minute. In that case, you have to bring the rajas. You have to make them physically active. You have to lighten them. You have to make them physically active, give them some spices, open the channels, get rid of ama. And in a state of nirama, that's when they are able to move towards a sattvic meditative practice, which will help them. So it's a general rule that we have to slowly help people move into this spectrum, what we call it as enlightened living. And that's what Ayurveda is. The very mission statement of Ayurveda is Ayurveda Amritanam, for God's sake. Ayurveda for immortality, a medical science, which is the mission statement, is Ayurveda Amritanam. Means you're talking about death, disease, and dying, while telling people that your true nature is immortal. It may sound like an oxymoron, or it may sound very difficult to comprehend, but that is what Ayurveda is all about. It's all about enlightened living. And you as a clinician, you as an Ayurvedic practitioner, or any kind of health and healing practitioner, your job or duty is to actually meet people and slowly lead them where they need to be. Because as we look at Vedanta, it's the essence of Veda. It's the whole seed and the essence of the philosophy. And Hinduism and the Vedic culture is so diverse. We just now heard so many wonderful speakers talk about it. Professor Sebastian, Rajashri did a wonderful presentation talking about yoga, dharma, true Vedanta. What is the true nature of Brahman? Satchitananda. And why to study Vedanta? Because the purpose is to steer or help everyone move towards their moksha. That's the ultimate goal. And there's often a saying in Ayurveda that we say health is a byproduct of enlightenment, because your full-time job is to move towards your journey towards evolution, towards enlightenment. And automatically you'll be healthy because it's just a byproduct. What you eat, how you think, how you live, everything becomes easy for you. When people are on the spiritual track or path, someone who is meditating or is experiencing some quiet time with themselves or spending time in nature, they are slowly able to make the changes in their life much more easily and much more effectively. And how to study Vedas, you can talk a lot about, throw books at people, but it does boil down to self-practice. It does boil down to sadhana. And sadhana doesn't mean that you wear certain specific kind of clothing or be somewhere or be in a cave somewhere. It's creating some degree of discipline for yourself about the times of eating, what types of food you're eating, what are the things that you should stay away from, what time you should sleep, what time you should go to bed. Because the biggest yoga, even Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita said, Yukta har viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Eat the right food at the right time, go to bed at a proper time, wake up at a proper time. And that's the best yoga that will alleviate all kinds of sufferings. So if you practice a simple, basic, positive, healthier lifestyle and stick to it and continue with your sadhana, with yoga, with Ayurveda, with meditation, and engage into Swadhyaya, your study, with the reflection coming from the scriptures or the books, and Samyama. Sanyama, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi together, Trayam Ekatra Sanyama. So, some degree of contemplation and meditation and discipline. Listening to people, like all the wonderful people, speakers that we have been listening to you this wonderful week of 25th Vedanta Congress. Listen, think, manan, nidadhyasan, reflect upon everything. If you are able to listen, reflect, and meditate, talk less, listen more, slowly you are able to open up a different degree of awareness. And we heard Dr. Chopra talk about it. The first tool towards evolution is self-awareness. And that self-awareness, that self-reflection, that comes from an effective management of yourself. We can talk a lot about our nature is all divine. We are all meant perfectly pure and eternally free. Aham Brahmasmi. That's the theme of Vedanta itself. Unity is the song of life as universe. Whoever sees all beings in the self and self in all beings. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu yapashyati sapashyata. But it's not easy because we are all riddled with our own ego at times. And that separation from the great cosmic unity is the very nature of life itself. We don't have to become Brahman. We are Brahman to a certain extent. Our nature is divine. And why are we unaware of it? Because the same senses that are given to us that create the same chaos and confusion. The same sensory interaction that you see, touch, feel, hear, foods, money, wants, desires, sensory comforts are the blessings and the curses given to you. And even in Bhagavad Gita, it says that dhyayato vishayan pusa sangasteshu pajayat. So that is the first step towards creating multiple blocks in your life. Adds more and more maya and starts clouding and shrouding your ability to see yourself. And that constant illusion of not knowing what is right for you, what is good for you, who you really are, what do you really want, is something which creates a constant battle with yourself. Everyone wants to be eternally happy and wise and free. How to realize the quiet nature of your own mind? Your mind can become a tormentor. It can create Vedana or it can create moksha. That's the tool, that's the vehicle. When it's going outward, that leads to bhoga and roga. When it goes inward, that leads to yoga. And your ability to understand that how you witness your life and the totality of life as you're starting to relate to everything around you. World is just nothing but a pure field of consciousness. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. And various methods that you're trying to do on a daily basis is to separate from the Maya or the illusion that doesn't allow you to see your own true reflection. Does it happen by someone telling you something? It doesn't happen. It happens by having a quiet reflection to understand the situation. To build what I call it as an emotional intelligence to help you understand that mind is a distracting tool. You have to transcend the mind, you have to transcend the ego and use your mahat or buddhi to be established in your own self. Sukha dukkhe samakrutva labha labho jaya jaya. Obtaining the state of stable intellect, sthita prajna. And when you are established into a stable intellect, which doesn't really waver a whole lot from good to bad, that is when you are able to realize or even see a glimpse. And there are two things which I often tell my patients is spending more and more time outdoors in nature. When you see something like a vast ocean or a big valley or an expanded sky, that's the best way to really expand your own horizons. And all the cultures, all the traditions around the world have used Mother Nature to find that communion. That's the first step. Silence is another simple tool. Fasting is another simple tool. So these universal tools to realize Brahman has been common in almost all religions around the globe. And these are pure tools that are giving you the experience. And there are many souls, different religions, telling you different things. Ekam Satyam, Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. But we have to decide that we should not be getting lost in the chatter of it, but understanding and distill some very pure, practical, simple tools to live in the present, to not to be confused in the space-time continuum, which is an illusion itself. Time and space, both is an illusion itself. This is an interesting quote from Vidura. Kalaha pachati bhutani, kalaha saharte praja, kalaha sukteshu jagarti, kalohi durati krama. It's the devourer of everything. Kalaya tasmai nama, everything comes out of it. But the practical tool is, don't worry about the past or the future, because both of them are not true. Past is an illusion and the future is an illusion also. Way before everybody started talking about the power of now, Vedanta has been talking about gate shoko na kartavyo bhavishyam naiva chintayet vartamanena kalena vartayanti vichakshana. Wise men act in the present time. So if you're constantly riddled with the anxiety of the past or the worries of the future, then you are not able to be in a stable state of intellect. And even Shankaracharya gave us various different tools. And I think my little dharma or the little purpose is how can I distill it and kind of make it simple for the clinicians in this country as well as around the globe to actually implement that. How do I help people to discriminate? How do I people to be non-attached? And create a degree of various virtues that Shankaracharya talk about. Non-attachment to certain foods or unwanted things that you buy. Minimize your needs. discriminate what is right for you, what is wrong for you, what is the best time to sleep, what is the best time to wake up, what are the best ways to entertain yourself, what are the best ways to exercise. So if you are able to discriminate, you are able to be gently non-attached, and you are able to continue to develop certain virtues with finding peace, observing silence, doing a gentle amount of fasting, experiencing some degree of tranquility, doing a discipline training, withdrawing yourself from the vagaries of life, doing too many things, having forbearance, developing an unshakable trust and faith in the cosmic understanding of the universe. It's not about a God. You can worship a God, Ganesha, Shankara, Shiva, Durga. Those are all archetypes. Those are all different archetypes for your realization to the bigger state of consciousness. And finding some degree of santosha, samadhan, contentment in everything that you do. I think Shankaracharya talked a lot about Vedanta, but he gave some very, very practical tools, and we are failing to apply them for our daily living. And even this mumukshatva is for enlightenment. What do you do to be even desirous of this journey of knowing yourself? It's not how much you know or how well read you are. What would you do on a daily basis for that inner reflection, the quiet time, the meditation? And you can come up with various different tools. At least having that quest is so important. Many people call Ayurveda as moksha Ayurveda, because the ultimate journey is to get there. Ultimate journey is to transcend the limitations, the physical pain that you experience in the body. It even looks Agni as the inner God, and worshipping that inner God. And anything that you do to improve your state of physical health as the first tool towards using your body as a vehicle towards enlightenment. Through panchakarma, through detoxification, through cleansing, through fasting, through the right foods, through sattvic foods, variety of different things. Even using sleep, using good quality sleep to have better experience of consciousness. Nidrayatam sukham dukkham pushti karsha balabalam vrishata klibata jnanam ajnanam jivitam nacha. Means it says that so many things depend upon the quality of sleep that you get. Sukham, dukkham, pushti, karsha, bal, abal, vrishata, klivata, gyan and agyan. Whether you'll become knowledgeable or it will affect your cognitive performance. Jivitam nacha, even life and death depends upon a good quality sleep. So the Trayopastambha that we talk about is Ahar, Nidra and Brahmacharya. And Brahmacharya here doesn't mean only sexual abstinence. It actually means that having a realization of a lifestyle with Brahman at the center of it. Brahmam acharati yasa brahmacharya. So someone who is able to apply this lifestyle into that. And again, Shankaracharya has given some very simple tools, very, very simple practical tools that we use in our clinical practice. And what he said, that satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nishchalatvam, and nishchalatve jivanamukti. Through the company of the good arises non-attachment. And through the non-attachment, there arises freedom from delusion or moha or confusion. And through freedom from delusion, there arises steadfastness, nishchalatva. Your ability to be disciplined, to be stable, to be sthita pragya as nishchalatva. It's human to waver here and there a little bit, but most of the time you're on track. And that steadiness of intellect and the body and the mind and the life leads towards your own liberation. So I think we are taking all the different components from Vedanta and creating a very practical application of Vedanta in counseling. And why do I do that? Because the very premise of Ayurveda, there are the chikitsa that we talk about. There are threefold Ayurvedic chikitsa that we talk about. Daiva Vyapasha chikitsa, Satvavaja chikitsa, and Yukti Vyapasha chikitsa. The Daiva Vyapasha chikitsa is all about something that you don't know why you're having certain things. Destiny, Yadricha. Purva Janmakritam Kapam, Vyadhi Rupena Bhatyate. And so it's some karmic repercussions. So you understand that you are driving your car perfectly fine and suddenly someone comes and hits you and you have an accident and you have a broken back for the next 6 months. No mistake of intellect that you have done to experience that. So understand that there might be the hand of Daiva, and whatever you can do in order to really improve upon that. Mantra, Aushadhi, Manidharan, Swasthya, Mangal Karma, all of those different things that you can do. The only one thing that we use in Ayurveda, that is what we call it as an Ayurvedic medicine, is the Yukti Vyapasha Chikitsa. Punar Ahar Aushadha Dravyanam Yojana, Anta Parimarjana, internal purification, pacification of the doshas, treatments, abhyangas, panchakarma, variety of different things, surgical treatments, herbs, diet, lifestyle. It's all Yukti Vyapasha. And the third part is Sattvavaja. That's why we talk a lot about counseling. We talk about boosting one's sattva. Sattva also means mental strength, your ability to discipline yourself. Because the cause of all the imbalance is pragyaparad. Dhri, dhriti, smriti, vibhramshaha, yat kurute karma ashubham, pragyaparadham tam vidyat, sarvadosha prakopanam. Dhi dhairya atmadi vijnanam mano dosho shadham para. So correcting your mind, mano nigraha, correcting pragyaparada, adhyatma, knowing about your own inner self. How can you use uplifting words? Encouragement, guide someone. That's why people flock to a guru or a teacher who tells them what to do. But you can do that in a clinical setting, as a doctor, as a Vaidya. The word Vaidya simply means the one who knows. How can I help you understanding your body type or your mental type, whether you're sattvic, rajasic, tamasic person, give you the right kind of moral strength, emotional support, the right kind of tools to encourage you in order to do that. And I think yoga is a fascinating concept itself, whether I use bhakti yoga, whether I use karma yoga, whether I use jnana yoga. All the different components can be perfectly seamlessly integrated in a clinical setting. And it's high time that we find smart clinicians, doctors, who are able to integrate that into their daily practice. Because we meet people who are stuck, blocked, stagnant, and you have to slowly lead them to increase the Agni first, increase the fire. And Balramji was saying, I wrote a book on this topic called The Hot Belly Diet. Yeah, rekindle the fire, rekindle the life. If you kindle the Agni, you can join a satsang. You have to move away from tamasic to rajasic. Eat the right kind of spices, drink herbal teas, exercise more, sweat more, read some spiritual books, set very specific goals. This is the time I'll go to sleep. I'm going to not eat anything from lunch to dinner, or I'll have a light dinner, or I'll observe a fast once a week, twice a week, whatever you want to do. Setting goals and trying to achieve that. That's the first step. I'm giving you some practical tools, because we can talk a whole lot about what Vedanta is and decode this, but how to achieve and even experience and make yourself capable of experiencing that is even more important. And the second stage is increasing akasha, creating space. Sroto shuddhi, that we talk about, okay? Moving from rajasic to sattvic. So how to increase the flow of prana through your srotas. Setting the goals and working to achieve them. Learning to transcend ego, selfless actions and services. Helping others. Being empathic to help other people's pain and suffering. And try to eat sattvic foods as much as possible, because you want to kindle the laghu guna, the sattva, which is more creating prakasha, creating more light inside. And that journey in the second stage, which is like Dehali Deepak, as we call, where it illuminates your inner and the outer life at the same time. And creating that journey and transcending even the sattva guna that you're cultivating. If you suddenly jump from one to another, it doesn't work. You have to slowly prepare the body to experience that. And transcending even sattva guna. Nistraigunya bhavarjuna. You can be egoistic with your pure diet and lifestyle also. So increasing the awareness of spirit beyond your prakriti and the sattva. And I'm going to leave you with some very simple but practical tools that you can apply on an everyday basis. Change your perceptions, how you look at a given experience. This is a practical Vedanta. What meets your eyes is not always real. How you feel is always tainted with emotional response. How can you separate your emotion from the real perception? You can do that by expanding your awareness, being mindful, being aware. You can at least definitely try to eliminate toxicity in your body. Stay away from food that make your body toxic, dull, heavy, tired. Detoxify, purify. Listen to your body's signals, whether you're thirsty, hungry, or sleepy. Try to live in the present to the best of your ability. As a human being, you would think about future or the past, but it's an illusion anyway. What other people think of you is none of your business. Relinquish the need of external approval. You drain so much of energy thinking about what people are going to say. Shed the burden of judgment. You don't have to judge others and you don't have to be judged. Respect nature's plan. Go with the flow. Be patient. Cultivate flexibility, resilience. Always be ready for the unexpected to a certain extent. Respect people, value people. Make people feel important, loved, valued, respected, and appreciated. Because at the end of the day, if you want love, give others love. If you want respect, respect others. Find your passion and purpose. Keep yourself busy. You can't just be in a cave somewhere. You have to find your purpose, dharma, passion, and do something that you believe, that you enjoy, that you feel good about yourself. Follow your inspiration. At the moment, be creative as much as possible. Contribute to something which is much bigger, better, and greater than yourself. Make silence, meditation, or prayer as a daily practice. Surrender. Let go of things. Keep on doing your thing, but still experience the unexpected. Practice forgiveness. You can't hold grudges. Forgive people to find peace for yourself. Cultivating a degree of patience and flexibility as a way of living. And always remember, enlightenment is a journey. What you do on an everyday basis is what is going to give you the experience of the totality. Raman Maharshi said something very interesting. Wanting to reform the world without discovering one's true self is trying to cover the world with leather to avoid the pain of walking on stones and thorns and pebbles. Use meditation. It's much simpler to wear shoes. You can't expect the whole world to be exactly the way you want, but you make yourself immune to things what are happening. And that immunity, that individual immunity, which is leading to a global cosmic immunity, increasing the quality of dharma worldwide, the global rise of collective consciousness is the very need of the hour. And I sincerely thank the organizers of this conference to build this big need that we are doing globally, worldwide. And I assume that this Gyan Yagya about Vedanta is going to inspire and illuminate the life of many. Dhanyavad. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Suhasji. It was wonderful, enlightening. as usual, your speeches are. There are no questions in the plenary sessions, but I'll make a comment and see if you want to respond to it. All these things is great, and I kind of gave an indication, and of course, we both live in the United States, and we think that this will be very helpful to the world. But there is still lack of at least propensity of its appreciation, if not the appreciation itself. And that's one, how to get this really accepted and become a more common. But the real issue is that there is, you said, Vaidya, who is knowledgeable, but when there is a business and finance come into this, somehow a lot of people want to become knowledgeable, and then you also said that it is the parahit is the welfare of others that really drives this. So there is a cultural, there is a systemic problem in the society, and particularly where we live, and that spreads throughout the world. So I guess I'm just making this comment to see if you have anything to offer more positive outlook of how to go about getting this accepted, even though I know it is accepted to a certain degree.
Well, I understand your point very well, and I think we are all on a journey, whether you are practicing Vaidya or you are a health practitioner. We have to slowly rise above that, and it all boils down to having individuals who are learning the way the education is being taught in this. And the very theme of this Congress today is about how to integrate this in education, because how I learned Ayurveda, or how I am being taught by my teachers, acharyas. The word acharya, one who have an acharan, supporting what they are talking and teaching. And that is what is going to inspire and create the next creed of Vaidyas and doctors and healers, and even educators and professors, who are not only going to walk the talk, but going to inspire many, many more students, because it boils down to education. It will change. The educational reform need to happen. And as that happens, more and more better quality Vaidyas that will really carry this information forward and embody them and personify them. And that's how it's going to happen, because we always say, isn't it? Shastram, Shastram, Salilam. Who is holding them? What is the vessel? Because what we talk about is wonderful, but the vessel, if it gets impure, then doesn't work. And there are basic human needs that even Abraham Maslow talks about, that you need money, you need some respect, you need some fame. And once people transcend that, then they are able to share more and find to the next level itself. But the simple answer to your question is education. I think the education needs to reform, and more people needs to learn the same thing slightly differently.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Basically, people need to get to work. On this, and then that's what people will see, and then maybe will accept.
And I think all of you guys are doing a phenomenal work, even at JNU. These Goshtis have been wonderful, and I admire your tenacity and your commitment to this, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. And the last thing I have to do as a chair, although I think everybody else is sitting on chair, everybody's chair, but I would request that please turn on your video so we can take some pictures. Make sure that you are counted. So I'll give you a minute to turn on your video, those who need to position themselves, and then we'll take pictures. I'll be taking a screenshot basically. And then we will be done for the evening. Everybody is on, I'm assuming those who wanted to be on. And I take the first. All right, I see some more people are still turning it on. Yeah, please turn on your video. Alok Dwivedi, I see you sitting on the chair. All right, so there we go. First, and give me a second to save this somewhere so I can come back. For the second one. And There we go. I think Aparna is probably taking a lot of videos also. So we take second one. And thank you so much. And have a good night to those people who are in India, and good morning to people in the United States. We'll see you tomorrow again at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
With the first session will be on Sastra versus Sastras. So Sambad
Yes.
will have Subramanian Swami, Rajiv Malhotra, and Jeffrey Armstrong. Goodbye.
Goodbye.